Welcome back to News in an Hour. This is part two of today's episode, and we're going to evaluate stories from Pennsylvania. What you should know about the arson fire and attempted murder at the Pennsylvania governor's mansion. A 38-year-old man pleaded guilty Tuesday to charges including attempted murder and arson for setting fires inside the official residence of Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, while Shapiro, his family, and others were inside. Cody Balmer was sentenced under a plea deal to 25 to 50 years in state prison. No one was injured, but the April 13th fire did considerable damage to the governor's mansion. Shapiro said the attack has made his family feel unsafe. He said he supports the plea agreement. So what should you know about the case? Well, authorities say that Balmer climbed over an iron security fence, used gasoline and beer bottles to ignite a dining room and entertaining space, broke a window to crawl inside, then kicked at a door leading to where the Shapiros and guests were sleeping, but didn't get through. He walked back out, never encountering state police on the property. Hours earlier, Shapiro, his family, and their overnight guests had celebrated the Jewish holiday of Passover with a Seder. They were awakened by state police and ushered to safety. Balmer called 911 and walked to a state police facility the following afternoon to turn himself in. Balmer's family said he had received mental health treatment but struggled after he stopped taking medication. District Attorney Fran Chardo said at a news conference Tuesday that Balmer had expressed concern about the war in Gaza and somehow saw the attack as a response to deaths in that conflict. Balmer told the Associated Press in a May letter from jail that Shapiro's Jewish faith had not been a factor. A statement by Shapiro and his wife Lori was read in court describing how their sense of personal safety and security was changed by the attack. Some family members have had difficulty sleeping, they said, and there is now a fear and anxiety we are learning to live with. They said the damage and the repair work are constant reminders of what happened. After the hearing, the governor told reporters he and his wife have struggled to make sense of it. He said it was difficult to even say the words attempted murder out loud, knowing he was the target. It's especially hard to know that he tried to burn our family to death while we slept, Shapiro said. The fire charred walls, tables, dishes, and a piano and damaged window panes and brickwork at the 5-decade-old residence, which didn't have sprinklers. The property in Harrisburg along the Susquehanna River was reopened to the public as the cleanup and rebuilding began, and it's getting security upgrades, including an anti-climb fence, after a consultant's security review. The findings of that review weren't publicly disclosed. The cost of the damage is expected to exceed $1 million. In other Pennsylvania news, it's time to downsize the Pennsylvania legislature. Pennsylvania has the largest full-time state legislature in the country with 253 well-compensated state representatives and senators. Yet, it has been unable to fulfill one of its primary missions, passing a state budget. The budget impasse between the Democrats and Republicans is now in its 106th day, with no end in sight. Is it time to shrink the size of the legislature? Well, we ran this story as part of our morning news yesterday, meaning on Tuesday, and this is the rest of the story. So, Pennsylvania's state capitol boasts a magnificent chamber of chandeliered ceilings and marble walls, topped by murals depicting Pennsylvania's rich history, the home away from home for 203 state representatives from all corners of the Commonwealth. To run the splendid chamber and the 50-member state Senate down the hall, it costs the taxpayers more than $400 million a year. That means each lawmaker gets a base salary of $110,000, a budget to hire staff for an office in Harrisburg, and another in their district, plus a $200 plus per diem, a generous pension, and health care for life, all coming at an estimated $1 million every year. And despite all that cash, Pennsylvania has historically had one of the least productive legislatures in the country, currently embroiled in a budget battle that drags on. So why do you need all those people? KDKA's Andy Sheehan asked Pennsylvania Senator Lisa Boscola, the Democrat from Pennsylvania's 18th District. You don't. I've been saying it for years and years, Senator Boscola said. Consider that California has 40 million people compared to Pennsylvania's 13 million, but with 80 state representatives and 40 senators, its legislature is less than half the size of Pennsylvania's. Calling the state's current body expensive, bloated, and gridlocked, Senator Boscola is proposing a bill to essentially cut the legislature in half. I think if the public knew what we were doing or not doing down here, they would be very angry, Senator Boscola said. Under her bill, the Pennsylvania House would shrink from its current 203 members down to 101. On the Senate side, the numbers of members would be reduced from 50 to 38. Senator Boscola says the size of the legislature would still be too big, but she says it's a start. It's costing the taxpayer because you have to reimburse us for being here, then the hotel stays and the meals and everything else. For what? Senator Boscola opined. You can't even do your primary job, which is to pass a budget, Sheehan said. Well, that's because there are too many members and they're too stuck in their trenches of their party, Senator Boscola said. Boscola says the vast majority of individual representatives have little input on major decisions and are playing no role in the current budget impasse. Those talks are between the governor and the four party leaders in the House and Senate. And Boscola says when it does come to a head, most will vote on party lines to keep their jobs, salary, and benefits. If you're only going to have 5 people at the table, why do you need 203? You don't. And it's getting worse and worse, Boscola added. There's no question that the public is frustrated with the work that we've been doing, and I agree with them, said fellow Democratic Senator and Minority Leader Jay Costa, who is one of those power brokers, but he says the problem is polarization, not the number of legislators. He says the legislature is right-sized, that the individual representatives do have input in the budget talks and provide constituent services to the districts. I understand the public sentiments about not being happy about our pay, the amount of money we receive, and things of that nature, but we continue to work day in and day out, not only here in Harrisburg, but in our districts as well. Well, about that. The one thing that struck me when I came to the legislature is how inefficient government is. And I would like to make it much more different, added Representative Valerie Gatos, the Republican from the Pennsylvania 44th District of the House. To reduce the size of the legislature, the members must approve a referendum question to be placed on the ballot for the public to decide. But though cutting proposals have been forwarded in the past, a ballot question has never been approved and the public has never had its say. Representative Gatos has been trying unsuccessfully to get her bill to reduce the size of the legislature out of committee since 2019. A Republican, she now plans to join forces with the Democrat Boscola to get a vote in the House and the Senate. She believes it would be her biggest achievement as a legislator. So wait a minute. You're willing to vote yourself out of a job, Sheehan asks Representative Gatos? Absolutely, 100%, Gatos replied. If it ever does get on the ballot, Boscola says there's little doubt about how the public would vote. Do you want a bill to downsize the legislature? You know the public is going to demand that, Senator Boscola said. As budget talks drag on among the leadership, Pennsylvania taxpayers continue to foot the bill. And perhaps this year, a bill to reduce the size of the legislature will finally get its proper consideration. Well, folks, we're going to take another break for a few words from our sponsors. When we come back, we'll share more information about the federal government shutdown and what Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vaught wants to do while the government is shut down. We'll be back after these messages.